Welcome to UDK Part 1 for Viscera Cleanup Detail. In this tutorial, we're going to learn what is the function of the viewports. We're going to learn how to navigate, so how do we zoom, move up and down, or just move our camera as we like. We're going to learn how to move, rotate, and scale objects, and what the rest of the interface does. So let's get to it. Right click Steam, Viscera Cleanup Detail, Launch Editor. So now, when you first start for the first time, what you must usually see is the startup tip. I have it disabled, so for that case, it didn't show up. And your window might look something like this, very similar like this one. So the first time when you start off, you go to viewport configuration, make sure that 2x2 split is ticked. So in that order, you have all 4 viewports. So let's start. What are the viewports? Well, as you can see, every viewport has a different type of view. This one, for example, is perspective. We can look in 3D environment. Here on top, we have a side view. Here we have a front, and here we have a top. And to demonstrate this even easier, I'm gonna load up the little map that I created, like a mock-up, and we can see really easy. All right, this is the side, this is the front, and this is the top. Now let's go forward from here. We can see the arrow pointing downwards. This is the option, and each of the viewport has one. So if you press like accidental keybind that you didn't mean to, or you do something wrong, you can always go here to show and reset to default, and that way the options get reset. Okay, going forward, the real time, if you have this enabled, all sprites and animations of the sprites will be active. So if you would say we'll have here oven with the fire burning, the fire will be burning with this enabled. If it's disabled, it would stand still. Now here are the different wireframes, like a brush wireframe. This one are used when you have a lot of maybe static meshes, which these are right now, or if you have BSP brushes, it's very useful. You can see where the object ends, where it's the border, and it's useful if you want to tell where is something placed. Then we have unlit. This is another useful feature. If you have a really dark map, you obviously want to see what's where, so unlit modes enables you that. Then we have a lit, as your map would appear. And then you have all these different types of the lighting, which is useful when you try to tweak the lighting and do that. Usually my workflow, that's something that you do in later stages. Then we have a game view. What this does basically is it tells the game, okay, we don't want to have all the icons for sprites or player start displayed. We want to just see the objects, no graphical interface here in the editor. You can see the difference. All right, so lock, and another one that's nothing that I use, level streaming as well, not post process, just leave it as that. And then we have movement speed. We're working with the interior objects or the corridors, so usually you want to have it on lower, because it goes to 4 increments, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So with 4, it gets you zoom out real quick. With 1, it's the slowest. And the third one is play in viewport, which enables you to play right here in this viewport. If I would press now play in viewport, I wouldn't be able to do so because the level is not built. We have a tearing off, which tears off the viewport in your window. And then we have a very useful feature, which is maximize the viewport. This is very useful when you're working in 3D perspective. You want to move something, you want to have extra space on your screen. All right, let's talk about the navigation. How do I move this static meshes, for example? Well, the controls are up here. From the selection mode to move, to rotate, to scale, and to uniformly scale. Now, in order to do that, for example, the selection tool, I can just hold the control and select whatever I want. That's the purpose of the selection tool. Now, why is it useful? It's also useful because you don't get to move the object. You just select them. Well, if we go to the next one, which is movement tool, if you keep selecting with move tool, sometimes you might change it even though you did not meant to. So that's where the selection tool comes in handy. So move tool, you can see, has 3 axes. One of them is Z, the blue one is Z, and then we have the Y and X. Each of those respectively move in their own direction. As you can tell, it's pretty self-explanatory. The rotating tool works exactly the same. And then we have the scale. It doesn't matter on which axis you hold it, because it's uniformly scaled. And then we have a non-uniform scale. So that scales it on separate axes. Every function here, from move to rotate to scaling, has an option to right click it. That way you can tell the values. You can input the values, how much you want to scale, how much you want to rotate, and so on. Useful at the times, especially with rotating tool. Going forward, we have a reference coordinate system. Again, very useful thing. What it does, it has 2 options. One of them is world, which is always aligned as the world is. And let's say we rotate it. Notice that the transfer gizmo, it's always the same. However, if we switch to local, it's gonna switch it with direction of the object that it's facing, like this. We can swap those with tilde key. That's the key left from 1, and key above tab key. We can switch between them seamlessly. Just the same, if you wanna either move, rotate, and scale, we can use space to cycle those around. It's incredibly useful because it's fast and efficient. It saves you all that extra time of traveling with your mouse up there. Okay, going forward, there's a find actors, which I haven't used at all. Open content browser, this is where you can cycle and look for the static meshes or objects that you want to place. Then we have the scripting tool, Unreal Kismet. Something that, again, I haven't really used yet, Unreal Matinee. these three options, I don't know what they are, and I don't see particular use right now. And then this section, it's all for compiling. The first one we have building geometry, then we have building lights, paths, cover nodes. Now, paths and cover nodes are not used in Viscera cleanup detail, but they have to be built because of the engine. And build all, which is something that I tend to use a lot. All those 3 or 4, they don't really matter to me. Mobile features, when I'm working with that. Start level on PC as well. Debugging now. And then we have something that it's called play in level or play in editor, PIA abbreviated. This is obviously a very useful feature once you compile everything, as we can do it right now. All right, once it's done, we can close this, can close the agent, and now we can hit play in editor. Escape. Okay, another thing that I'll have to talk about is called grid snaps. We can see those options either here in one of the, well, where are you? View, in one of the view options, or down here. So because they are pretty useful, let's talk about it. First one is toggle drag grid. If we do that and to the 90 degrees, so what that does, we can see that the object, it's either aligned on a grid or it's not. This is what this is the rotation grid snap, and this is the toggle grid snap. You can tell the values here, and if this is on, it's gonna follow the grid, as you can see. If you turn it off, you can adjust it by hand. Then you have the same, the rotation grid. I have it right now as 90 degrees. Notice I can rotate it exactly 90 degrees. Extremely useful. And the last one is the scaling. That's not something that I mess around. You might want to try experience with that. The very last one though is autosave. So when you're working with like a plopper, which is the tool that lets you paint on a level, or makes you place down the object, or any particular tool that can cause problems on the long run, this is very useful thing to have. You can enable autosave, set up the increments, and that way, if something goes wrong, if your UDK crashes, you have the backup here. I think by default you have this on. It's up to your discretion whether you use it or not. That's it for part 1, the UDK tutorial. You'll learn how to use the viewports, how to navigate, how to move, rotate, and scale objects, what the rest of the interface on the bottom and upper side is for. And I want to thank for Black Eagle's guide for a janitor forum posts. And a little disclaimer, this is by no chance a really great tutorial. There's a lot of them better out there, but it's good in a sense of showing you the way in regards to completely fresh start for Viscera cleanup detail. Take care. Bye. Bye.